I'm Mark Weiser. I'm a long-term faculty at Tulane University. My rank is associate professor. I'm also vice chair of the Department of Tropical Medicine and Infectious Disease. I'm also the director of the MPH and TM program within the Department of Tropical Medicine. And I seem to be missing something else. I'm also getting senile. Public health was not something I'd ever looked at. In fact, I didn't even really know what it was. But I was at Yale working in a molecular parasitology group at the time, and a position here opened up in the Department of Tropical Medicine, and because I was doing parasites, specifically the malaria parasite, they brought me down for a visit and a talk and that. And initially I didn't think they'd be interested, but it turned out they were quite interested. They wanted to establish some molecular biology at the schools. I was initially working in cancer on a type of protein called protein kinase. And at that time, that was super hot. One of the things I described was a protein the parasite puts on the erythrocyte membrane. And at that time, that was very novel. In fact, the dogma was the parasite doesn't alter the membrane because it's trying to hide from the immune system. So it was a little bit of an uphill battle. There have only been maybe 2 or 3 papers published that indicated that the parasite actually synthesized proteins and put them out on the erythrocyte membrane. So I was kind of part of that very early movement. It's laughable now, because now we know the parasite actually, probably about 10% of its genome is exported out into the host cell. So, but at that time, people were just thinking, well, no, it doesn't make sense. Why would the parasite change the membrane and alert the immune system? And there's a lot of reasons for that. And so that became my focus of study essentially from my PhD thesis. And I always carried that project with me, and everywhere I went, I added something to it based upon the expertise of the place where I was at, take advantage of their expertise and add something to it. And so when I got here, I was still continuing it. I kind of started working on, well, how does the parasite move proteins out to the erythrocyte membrane? As part of that, I made a fairly unique observation and study and a possible mechanism. So it never did get widely accepted, never did really take off, but it's still out there. When they were first hiring me, it came up in the interview, well, what about teaching? And I kind of hesitated and said, well, I've never taught. I don't know if I can do that. Because again, I've always been a laboratory researcher. Like, oh, don't worry about that, don't, because they were still trying to encourage me to come. They didn't want to give me any excuse not to come. But what I sort of learned is that I really have a good knack for teaching. I have this ability to sort of reach out to the students, this ability to take very complex things and explain them in a way where they're understandable, to get rid of the jargon and some of the technicalities and explain the phenomenon. So my teaching really took off. So when the research burned, the teaching took off. I've gotten a few teaching awards from it, and my teaching evaluations are always very, very positive in that. So, and I've written 2 textbooks based on the courses I've developed here. So I did kind of transition more to teaching. 2 of the teaching awards stood out very, very big. One of them was when I got the school-wide teaching award, because that was so unexpected. I was totally flabbergasted by that. So that was a huge moment for several reasons. And then one year I didn't get it. I don't even think I have it on the wall anymore. That the students in this department made one just for me and gave it to me. And I think that was the one I really appreciated the most. And it was very personal. Everything about it was very personal. They had this kind of surprise dinner for me. And it was really kind of funny. The day they were doing it, I was giving a final exam, and I was going, they're acting really squirrely. There's something up. And I thought it was the stress of the exam, and I was asking them, and then later when they did the big surprise thing, I go, now that explains why you guys are so squirrely in class today. But yeah, those two things kind of stand out. Teaching can be very difficult. And in a lot of courses, you have this wide range. You have some students that they're very quick, they're very bright, and they kind of know it. And then you have some that are at the bottom of the scale. And so difficulty is, how do you keep the ones at the top engaged and keep them stimulated, and at the same time you don't completely lose the ones at the bottom of that. And I spent a lot of time thinking about that. I think some professors fail because, you know, they make the assignments or the exams too geared toward the high level technical stuff and not much about, well, at the end of the day, what fundamental knowledge do they really need to know? The wife was driving the retirement. About 4 years ago, she started saying, let's retire, let's retire. And at first I was saying, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And so, and then as she kept saying it over and over, I said, well, there might be some benefits to it. So we haven't really thought about the future that much. We've decided, well, let's retire and then let's use the time we now have on our hands to tackle that. But it's looking like Lafayette is pretty high on the list right now.